Okay, let's get right into this. So here's the deal. There have been massive donations right up front on this before I even got to this video, and it absolutely blows my mind. Just to go through some of them, Diana Fernandez did amazing, massive donations, and I super appreciate that. Basically, there was another Batty Beth, amazing donations. So these are like our two massive donating people, which is just incredible, and I really appreciate it. Anyways, so I want to go into what incredible news is coming out because this is a solid win for SSI people in a way that they've been waiting for a really long time. Let's go through it. Basically, and I don't just have an article, I also have the Federal Register here, and it was an absolutely massive printout with all the different rule changes, but we're going to go through it. Let me go through the easy article, and then I'll kind of walk you through what the Federal Register had to say, because that goes a little bit more in depth, specifically as to how supplemental security income people are going to find it easier to get the full $943 per month instead of the whole $600-ish, where the in-kind support maintenance rule kind of screws them over. And basically, it'll also allow a lot of people to go ahead and get access to benefits that couldn't get access in the past. But again, real quick, Diana Fernandez, that is absolutely amazing. I really appreciate those donations. And as well, Batty Beth, just amazing, huge donations. So very cool. So here's the deal with Social Security. I'm going to go right to the article and kind of explain things as I go through it. Social Security to expand access to SSI program by updating definition of a public assistance household. This is produced May 9th, 2024. Of course, today is May 9th, 2024. This was sent out by the SSA, but this particular document is from the blog.ssa / Social Security to expand access to SSI. Now, here's what you need to know. A lot of the intro stuff you already know about SSI, Supplemental Security Income Program, means tested, yada. Okay. Under the final rule, beginning September 30th, 2024. Okay, so just remember, in your head, they're redefining essentially an important phrase that will define if people can get SSI benefits, supplemental security income. Here we go. Under the final rule, beginning September 30th, 2024, the agency will expand the definition of a public assistance household to include households receiving supplemental nutrition assistance program payments and households where not all members receive public assistance. So what's interesting about this is that if you live in a house where basically you are receiving SNAP benefits or food stamps, basically that's what it is, then you are officially going to be considered to be a public assistance household. And let's go into the rule a little bit more. The expanded definition will allow more people to qualify for SSI, increase some SSI recipients' payment amounts, and reduce reporting burdens for individuals living in public assistance households. The revised rule also changes the definition of a public assistance household when determining who in a household receives public assistance. The new rule defines a public assistance household as one that has both an SSI applicant or recipient. So it's not just somebody who's already receiving it, it's somebody who's just applying to get it as well. And at least one other household member who receives one or more of the listed means tested public income maintenance payments, and basically their PIMs, and any other definition that's applicable. We'll go through this from the actual Federal Register. So put another way, they're redefining what is poverty, and they're making it much more available so that people who are part of a public assistance household can now get the maximum amount of SSI. Why do we see all of these changes and rules and modifications? It's because inflation has significantly decreased the buying power of the dollar, and SSI isn't anywhere near capable of keeping up. They can't afford anything. They can't afford the rent. They can't afford food. They just can't afford things. So as a result of that, just to kind of clarify real quick, what's happening is they have to change the systematic rules that basically hold essentially, these SSI people down so that the SSI people can at least access the full amount of benefits instead of getting stuck with that 600 yada 1/3 reduction rule stuff. Lane Henderson Maynard, thank you for the donation. I super appreciate it. Excellent. I'm glad I made it less confusing and terrifying. I mean, it's still terrifying, but less confusing. I will totally be on board with that. So with that said, let's go through it real quick. All right. This change benefits SSI recipients living in households where only some members receive public assistance, okay? So let's go through this real quick. All right. And keep in mind, we're doing the cutesy article first, because when we go to the Federal Register, it's going to get hot and heavy fast. It's going to get very legal fast. By simplifying and this is a quote, by simplifying our policies and including an additional program geared towards low-income families, such as the SNAP program, we are removing significant barriers to accessing SSI benefits. These changes promote greater equity in our programs. Now, what's interesting is SSI is going to massively grow and almost to like explode into this huge population of people. And what's happening is SSI is becoming kind of like that universal income sort of thing that people used to talk about. It's refugees, asylum seekers, disabled, and those over 65. So what's happening is SSI is taking that leap, and the government is creating SSI as this thing to catch all the people that can't afford to basically live in America. All right. SNAP is the first PIM benefit added to the agency's public assistance household definition since it was established in 1980. This change helps ensure the agency's policies better represent the current landscape of means-tested programs in the United States. These changes are key because if an applicant or recipient is determined to be living in a public assistance household, the agency assumes they are not receiving assistance from other household members that would otherwise be counted as income. This will allow more people to qualify for SSI in some cases, receive a higher SSI payment. And so here's what's happening. They're allowing more people on SSI by discounting the problem rules that they had where, oh, well, that's not a public assistance household because somebody lived there that wasn't receiving public assistance, and that somebody ruins it for all the other people that are super poor. They got rid of that rule. Now they're saying, look, you got an SSI or an applicant for SSI and somebody else that's on food stamps, boom. We're going to go ahead and consider this to be a public assistance household. Therefore, different rules apply. Therefore, you're more likely to get the full amount of SSI benefits than $943. Okay. This regulation update is one of several that the Social Security is publishing to improve the SSI program. The agency recently announced it will exclude the value of food from SSI benefit calculations. And what's interesting about that is when you look at these two things in tandem, these two rules, what happens is when you exclude food as like, is somebody giving them food or money towards food, and therefore we should reduce their benefits from $943 down to $600 and something, right? When they do that, okay, people can't survive. So this whole world of like, oh yeah, no, totally. The SSI person will reduce them down to 1/3 of what they could or 2/3 of what they could potentially get. So they're taking away 1/3 from their benefits. It doesn't work anymore then. SSI benefits, it's only $943. It takes more than $1,000 to be able to live in the United States now because of massive inflation that has occurred. So when you get rid of the food restriction regulation and you now consider most houses to be in public assistance, you essentially create only one scenario that's major that restricts people and hits them with the 1/3 reduction rule, which is basically when, putting it simply, somebody is, outside of the house paying for somebody to live somewhere, and they're paying for that somebody to live somewhere, and they're getting a super ridiculous deal. But remember, if you're paying like $350, $400 for rent and you're on SSI, then they don't count that anymore. They're not going to reduce your benefits anymore. And it's because inflation has made it impossible for people on SSI to find basic and common living arrangements. And to be fair, the federal government's getting a lot of crap from the state governments and county governments because the state and county governments are having to subsidize all of these, SSI people from the federal program just to be able to live in the state. California is a big example of that. Social Security continuously examines programmatic policies and makes regulatory and sub-regulatory changes as appropriate. For more information on the SSI program, you can always visit their website. Cool. That's the cutesy article. Now, let's get to the tough stuff. Here is the Federal Register, which is not fun to read. It's not fun at all. Let's go into it real quick. Now, when you read the Federal Register on something that specifically comes out on SSI benefits, you want to go ahead and usually skip the summary. It's never well written. It's always really tough to figure out what's going on. You want to skip, hold on, let me get to the next part here. Further information, you skip that. Supplemental information, you skip that. ISM, you already know what in-kind support maintenance is. It's where if somebody's giving you stuff to be able to live, right, then they usually take away 1/3 of your SSI benefits. So we skip that. Okay, here we go. Now we get to prior policy, and now we get to new policy. This is the good stuff. Let's get right to the point of it, right? We previously defined a public assistance household, they call it a PA household, as one in which every member receives a PIM payment under at least one of the following. Okay, so here are basically the things that count as something to create a public assistance household. Okay, so basically temporary assistance for needy families, right? Supplemental security income, okay? The Refugee Act of 1980, payments based on need. The Disaster Relief and Emergency Assistance Act. The General Assistance Program of the Bureau of Indian Affairs. The state or local government assistance programs based on need, which gives you tax credits and refunds that are not assistance based on need. And of course, the Department of Veterans Affairs, payments based on need. Okay, so just to simplify things, they're taking care and they're subsidizing basically people on SSI, people who are poor families, people who have young children, refugees, asylum seekers, some immigrants, disaster relief people, the hurricane hits, there's an oil spill, Bureau of Indian Affairs for Native Americans, and also local natives throughout, all the islands that are possessions of the United States, veterans, and basically tax credit potential options. So these are all the things that, to be fair, to simplify, to whatever, are what normally count to create a public assistance household. And if you are a public assistance household, it's easier to get the full amount of SSI benefits. That's the whole gig here. The new policy specifically says, we are making changes based on the Commissioner of Social Security's rulemaking authority specified in section, a bunch of numbers, but 205A of the Social Security Act. Under those sections, the commissioner may adopt rules regarding, among other things, the nature and extent of evidence needed to establish benefit eligibility, as well as methods of taking and furnishing such evidence. Now, I know that at some point, some of you are going to start writing in the comment section, because I brought it up, that this rule basically makes it simpler for Ukraine refugees, asylum seekers from Haiti, immigrants from South America, and, the Muslim-based nations in the Middle East, that it basically is a direct line to create a system that would make sure that they consistently receive, essentially $943. Yes, that does exist. Yes, it's also going to be good for young families. Yes, it's also going to be good for veterans that can't get other types of benefits. It's going to be good for all of them, because it's an overall arching redefinition of that household that needs public assistance. Okay. Now, we are finalizing 3 changes discussed in the notice of proposed rulemaking that we published on September 29, 2023. So remember, this is almost a year old in how much they've been working on this particular item. First, we are finalizing a minor clarification to our definition of PA household at 20 CFR 416 1142A. Okay. The term public assistance may have implications outside our programs. We are finalizing without change from the NPRM the clarification that our definition of public assistance household, which we use as a term of art, applies only for purposes of our programs. Second, we are finalizing without change from the NPRM, that's like their system that they make decisions under, our proposed revisions to the definition of PA household in 20 CFR 416.1142. Okay, so what they're doing is they're adding SNAP to the existing list of PIM programs. So basically, poor families. And, let's just be fair here. There are so many poor families in America now. Capitalism works, but it fails in its current Americanized version of monopolistic capitalism. And so you get super hyper poor families. And unfortunately, because of the education system we have and the culture of parents being disabled and children then ending up disabled as well, you end up with this repetitive loop of poor kids making poor parents, making poor children, making poor parents, making poor children, on and on and on. And so as a result of that, they're saying, okay, look, let's say one of those people wasn't on public, assistance. Well, then we couldn't call it a special, public assistance household, and it would screw up the potential of getting that full amount of benefits for the rest of the members on SSI. This is fixing that. And this is a good thing. This is a very good thing. Okay. Third, we are changing our definition of PA household from one in which every member receives a PIM payment to one in which the household has both an SSI applicant or recipient and at least one other household member who receives one or more of the listed PIM payments. So basically, they're making it much easier. You don't have to have everybody receiving some magical, public assistance form that lives in that house. You just need 2 people. You need the person on SSI or applying for SSI, and you basically need somebody who's receiving one of those other things like temporary assistance for needy families. Okay, makes it way easier for poor people not to get screwed over with the 1/3 reduction rule. We discussed this potential change from every to any other in the NPRM and invited public comment. Public commenters were largely supportive of the change. In the event of an invalidation of any part of this rule, blah, 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 our intent is, okay, so they go through the thing where they want to keep the rule, so on and so forth. All right, so bottom line is this. Let me see if there's anything else I just want to go through. No, that's everything. So bottom line is this. SSI is becoming the universal version of universal income, right? Across America. Still, yes, you have to be disabled. You have to be an asylum seeker, refugee, some form of immigrants, or over 65. Yes, that and over 65 that can't access retirement or has too small of a retirement, right? Thank you, Jay, for the $2 donation. Very, very cool. Want to go on a date with me? Yeah, sure. Why not? I have one this Saturday. I'm totally open. Yeah. But another day. Yeah, totally fine. So with that said, just to clarify, I think what this rule does is it tells us the trajectory going forward of what SSI is going to mean for those individuals who are getting, $600 and something dollars. You're going to see very few people in the future on SSI benefits, who are getting less than the maximum amount. Like 943 is going to become the standard. And the reason why is that they can't afford anything. It's way too expensive to be able to live on this program and try and succeed. And it's not just too expensive in New York, okay, or California, all right, or Connecticut or Massachusetts, whatever. It's too expensive in places like Mississippi. And when something is too expensive in Mississippi, that's the definition of it's not working right. Think about it. If something is not, if something is too expensive in Mississippi, you could literally make a federal law saying that the definite, if you can't afford to live in Mississippi on SSI benefits of $600 and something, then it should be illegal. All right. Anyways, I'm going to catch you guys a little bit later. Please remember to like and subscribe. Please remember to go to Google and type in Disability Resolution Law Firm or Disability Resolution Florida. Bottom line is that we will be live with one more video, and then we're going to be going live with the video where I go ahead and take questions. Please remember during 9 to 5 at the law firm to not go ahead and call in with questions if you already have benefits. If you're looking for representation, totally fine. Give me a call. Other than that, I will catch you at the next video, and we'll go from there, and I'll see you soon. All right. Thanks so much. All right. Catch you soon. Bye-bye.